Good morning.
Good morning.
Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Church in Springfield. For generations, we have envisioned a better world, an earth made fair, and all her people one. We welcome all who wish to join us in fulfilling this vision. My name is Bob Allman. I'm one of the trustees. If you're a guest with us today, we invite you to simply enjoy being with us. You're welcome to join us at the service for refreshments and conversation.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Morning. It's so nice to be back here. I want to share a few readings to get started. The tree is waiting. It has everything ready. Its fallen leaves are mulching the forest floor, and its roots are drawing up the extra winter moisture, providing a firm anchor against seasonal storms. Its ripe cones and nuts are providing essential food in this scarce time for mice and squirrels, and its bark is hosting hibernating insects and providing a source of nourishment for hungry deer. It is far from dead. It is, in fact, the life and soul of the wood. It's just getting on with it quietly. It will not burst into life in the spring. It will just put on a new coat and face the world again. The starkness of winter can reveal colors we would otherwise miss. I once watched a fox cross a frosty field, her coat shining against the gloom. Walking in the bare winter woodland, I am surrounded by astonishing foxy reds, the deep burnish of bracken, its dry fronds twisted to lacework, the deep crimson leaves on brambles, the last remaining berries on honeysuckle, and orangey clusters of rose hips. The iconic holly, its boughs so thoroughly rated each Christmas. There is bright yellow of gorse on heathland, glowing until spring comes, as well as the stately evergreens and the tangle of green leaves that remain unnoticed on the ground. Life goes on abundantly in winter. Changes made here will usher us into future glories. So I'm here today to share with you some words about this idea of wintering. Most of what I have to share is from Catherine May's fabulous book by the same name. But also, in addition to learning about what's going on seasonally, this is such a great place to be in the sanctuary because we're surrounded by this, it looks like a picture outside our windows, right, of the winter scenery. But also wintering has a lot to do with what's going on inside us. So I want to give you, lay the groundwork with the season and then turn it over a little bit to look what's going on inside us. Again, being guided this whole time by Catherine May's words here. So one more thing to leave you with. I recognized winter. I saw it coming a mile off, since you ask. And I looked it in the eye. I greeted it, and I let it in. I had some tricks up my sleeve, you see. I've learned the hard way. When I started feeling the drag of winter, I began to treat myself like a favored child, with kindness and love. I assumed my needs were reasonable and that my feelings were signals of something important. I kept myself well fed and made sure I was getting enough sleep. I took myself for walks in the fresh air and spent time doing things that soothed me. I asked myself, what is this winter all about? I asked myself, what change is coming? Nature shows that survival is a practice. Sometimes it flourishes, lays on fat garlands itself in leaves, makes abundant honey, and sometimes it pares back to the very basics of existence in order to keep living. It doesn't do this once, resentfully, assuming that one day it will get things right and everything will smooth out. It winters in cycles, again and again, forever and ever. It attends to this work each and every day. For plants and animals, winter is part of the job. The same is true for humans.
We'll be singing hymn 352, Stand as You Are Able and Willing, and Hallie is going to play it through once first.
I didn't come up with a little video for this story like I usually do, but it's a short one, and I really like it. This is from a 1994 episode of the public radio program Living on Earth, and it was from an interview with storyteller Joseph Bruchak, and this is a story from the Iroquois tradition. Stories like this provided something to do on cold winter nights for a lot of cultures. And it also provided information about nature and living things and how to respect them. And I just like this story because it features one of my favorite little animals that you see quite a bit this time of year. So this is how Joseph Bruchak tells this story. The great midwinter ceremony takes place traditionally at the solstice time of year, although nowadays it takes place in January. They moved it so it doesn't compete with Christmas. At that solstice time, when the 7 dancing stars are in the exact center of the sky, they play a game called the bowl game, in which you put a number of stones, painted black on one side and white on the other, into a bowl, shake it, and depending on how the stones come out, facing up black or white, you either score a point or you fail. The story goes that long ago, Grandmother Moon looked down on the earth and was not happy with what she saw. She said, "Life on earth must end." Enter the good mind, who teaches people to be aware of their thoughts and intentions and to have more loving and kind thoughts. Always a defender of the people, the good mind said to his grandmother, "Grandmother, is there no way we can prevent this from happening?" She said to him, "I will tell you what. We will play the bowl game, and the one who wins will decide whether or not life will continue. So the good mind went to the chickadees. He said to them, "My friends, I want you to help me." And he told them what he needed. And they said, "Of course, you can borrow our heads, which are black on one side and white on the other, put them in the bowl, and we will do what we can." So when the good mind took the bowl and he shook it, the chickadees flew up. Their heads flew up looking like little black and white stones, singing in midair. They flew around and then they landed, and they gave him a perfect score. So it was that he won, and life on earth continues. And so it is to this day that in the middle of the winter, you could hear the chickadees singing and celebrating the continuance of life.
And now, if you will, I think we'll have the affirmation up on the wall. Please recite it with me. Love is the doctrine of this church. The quest for truth is its sacrament, and service is its prayer. To dwell together in peace, to seek knowledge in freedom, to serve the needs of all beings, to the end that all souls shall grow into harmony with the divine. Thus do we covenant with each other and with the source of our being. And now we will have an offering for the ongoing work of this church and for the Family Center.
It occurs to me that our order of service isn't quite exactly what I had planned for you today, so I'm just going to keep going with what I have planned. I was going to do a little meditation, so if you can get yourself comfortable in your seats. I haven't even looked at the folks at home. Good to see all of you there as well. Wherever you are, find your seat and get comfortable. Start to notice the base underneath you, your sit bones supporting you, supporting your spine especially. And if the desire to close your eyes bubbles up, go ahead and allow that to happen. Or you can focus at something unmoving in the distance, just something to let your eyes rest. As you do that, notice what's going on with your breath. Just check in. See if you can find the pattern and the rhythm. That's your breath today. Could be different from what it usually is, but just notice. Before we get started any deeper here, make sure that you feel as comfortable as possible. We're going to be playing around a little bit with the pattern and the rhythm of the breath. So as long as your body is comfortable and supporting you, you don't even have to think about your posture for the rest of the time that we're doing this. If they aren't already, notice if your lips are pressed together or pursed together. In other words, you're breathing through your nose instead of your mouth. Few of us are dealing with colds today, so do the best you can. Some of us may not be able to breathe through our mouths this time of year. And see if you can let that breath deepen even more. Come low into your body even. In a way, sort of like when you're resting, how everything slows down and gets really low into your body. Can you pick up on the oscillation now of your breath? The inhales as they pull into you, and the exhales as they flow from you. And notice that oscillation just continues again and again, over and over without you thinking. And if you can, on your next exhale, slightly narrow your throat a little bit. So it's as if you're lengthening that exhale because you're narrowing the opening in your throat. It's sort of like when you let water out of a hose with your thumb on the end. Try that on the next breath too. So it might sound like an inhale, and then and in between those breaths, you can let your natural breath return, or you can stay with that lengthening of the breath. In that little narrow-throated exhale, you might hear the rushing of the ocean, sort of like when you put one of those shells to your ear. You might think you sort of sound like Darth Vader when you do that. That's okay. You don't have to try to sound like Darth Vader, but you just might. See if you can let that happen a few more times naturally on its own, without forcing anything. And you can stay with that for as long as you're comfortable. So that oscillation of your breath is a little bit like the day, where the dawn comes on your inhale, high noon as you pause that inhale for a moment, and then afternoon and evening comes as you slowly exhale until it's night and it's quiet again. And the cycle repeats. And it's the same thing with the seasons, right? Inhale for spring, full abundance of summer while you pause that inhale. And then autumn comes as you exhale, release. And then winter has that sense of quiet after the last exhale. So controlling that exhale a little bit with tightening your throat just a bit. See if you notice that your body might have warmed up a bit from the inside out. It's a little bit like that recirc setting on our automobiles. Lets the air continue to flow in a circular way within the vehicle, warming the vehicle a little bit quicker than trying to bring in fresh air and warm that. See if you can stay with that inward focus for a little bit more. And notice if that recirc, that internal recirculation may have changed your mood at all or how your body feels. Know you can come back to that breath anytime during the day that you might want to experience that or play around with it. As you're ready, go ahead and come back into the room, perhaps by opening your eyes, bringing your focus back to your vision, swiveling your head around, looking at those around you, looking at the view outside. The sun is really coming out here. Yeah, maybe stretch a little bit. Maybe notice the change now that you're back into your body in this space. I think we're gonna go to the teal hymnal and join our tiny choir today for song 1055, How Sweet the Darkness.
Yeah, and I'll play it through once, but it's not very familiar.
I give everybody credit for trying some of these new songs. Thank you. They really go with our theme for today, talking about winter. So I was back here in December, I can't believe it was December 2023, to talk about the traditional Chinese medicine view of this time of year. So today we'll talk about another system of wellness and some things that are going on seasonally and some ways that you can care for yourself during this season. We'll be looking into a system called Ayurveda, which is related somewhat to traditional Chinese medicine, some overlap, some things that are different, and the coming of spring. I think we know, those of us in the Northeast, that winter's tough. Winter's tough on us, it's tough on nature. But why do we have winter? Well, seasons are split up based on what's going on meteorologically, marked by particular weather patterns, daylight hours, and it's all comes back to the Earth's position in the sky with regard to the sun. So these changes are happening outside, and we know individually the changes are happening within us as well. And it's nice to be reminded of how big a deal winter is. As you know, I talk about it a lot. We have pet cows. Our pet cows put on these big fluffy coats. We know that certain animals hibernate. I just recently learned that chipmunks hibernate. I didn't know that, but they do. In addition to, we talk about bears all the time, but chipmunks hibernate. Trees lose their leaves. It's too hard to hang on to a lot of resources during this time of year. So these things in nature try to strip down or bulk up, depending what they need to do to make it through. And we know that it's gonna happen again next year, right? As much as we say, let's just get it over with, one big winter and we never have to do this again, that's not how it works. It comes back every year. So what benefits us, as much as it's something we don't really like to do, is to coordinate with the environment. Again, I mention all the time how much I really love this space. We can see what's going on, but it's, what, 72 or so in here, much colder outside. If we were to operate as if it were 95 and we were on the beaches of Miami all the time, that would be a little odd, because eventually we have to go outside and face these temperatures and these conditions, and it would be a lot on our system to go back and forth that way. So it's good to relate with what's going on outside. Know that this is different when you're in the Southern Hemisphere. Obviously, things are flip-flopped, but using these tools to relate safely, carefully, without getting sick to the weather outside keeps us a little more in tune than trying to ignore or pretend that what's going on outside isn't really happening. So let's talk a little bit about Ayurveda, and I wrote it separated here, life science Ayurveda. It's a natural system of medicine. It has a holistic approach, and it treats the individual like traditional Chinese medicine. It's about balance with your environment, with what's going on around you. And there are habits and daily routines, seasonal routines, and diets that are all part of this system of wellness. And they are all related to the seasons. Makes a lot of sense. The environment has qualities, characteristics, or traits. They're actually called gunas. And we all have a dominant trait, but these things are reflective of what's going on around us depending on the season. So winter Ayurveda is considered the kapha season, and there's a little bit of vata in there. You don't need to remember these words, but the qualities are important and probably easy to understand. Cold, heavy, dull. Things are sort of socked in, heavy, slow moving, a little bit quiet. So the idea is that like increases like. So it's good and okay and beneficial to us to move a little more slowly this time of year, to hibernate a little bit. Maybe we are sleeping a little bit longer, taking naps, one of my favorite things to do. It's okay to match with that. Now, what we don't want to do is nap for 3 days or eat all of what would be good, eat all of the chili in the refrigerator or something because it's warm and soothing. Like you don't want to go too much to the extreme. Again, we're looking for balance. So taking the time to slow down and get quiet and give yourself that permission is a good thing, but avoid tipping too much to the opposite direction. You're naturally going to probably feel lethargic this time of year. I notice that I sleep longer. A lot of that I think has to do with it's dark in the morning, it gets dark earlier in the evening. Everything is telling us that it's time to rest. So let's do that and take advantage of that. The air is cold and dry. There's precipitation in the form of snow, sometimes rain. So we're really matching with what's going on outside. So some ideas, some things that you can do. I think before I have mentioned this particular practice, and I'm going to step maybe to this side so the camera can see me. Kidneys. Sometimes we walk around and we hold this part of our bodies because we've shoveled and our back is sore. That's one reason, but your kidneys really do a lot for you this time of year. So holding your hands here, pounding, rubbing like this, all nice things. It can be a little rough on your shoulders for some people, so maybe you put a blanket there, or maybe you make sure that this part of your body is covered. When I was young, my mother always made me have a jacket a winter jacket that covered this part of my body. You know, I always wanted one of the fashionable short jackets. And she said, no, you need to, you know, cover yourself here. And I think there's something to that. So whatever you need in terms of energy on any particular day, think about this part of your body and how you can keep it nice and warm. Breaking up the ice that's in your back. Maybe sometimes we get stiff there. Walking around, moving is good. Again, napping is good, but we also need to balance it with something else. So a walk on a day like today, again, the sun is just beaming in the sanctuary today. A walk on an afternoon like today, midday when it's warmer, would be lovely. It's still a little chilly, but you're getting that sun and that idea of warmth. Cushy socks, fluffy scarf, fluffy blanket, all the things we like this time of year, those are great, and they're matching with the qualities of this time of year. Think about like your personal blanket of snow. This is a tough one for some people. There's this person's enjoying a warm beverage here on our image. We've gotten into the habit in this culture of iced coffee all the time. And we think salads are good for us. Those things are great, but this time of year, you're adding iced coffee, cold, raw salad to a body that's trying to stay warm. So think about those warming soups, warm coffee, hot cocoa. My husband has gotten into hot cocoa this time of year. Those chai, tea, those things work better for our systems. So go ahead and enjoy your hot cocoa this time of year. You have permission. Rest. These are new kittens, and they're really good at rest. So again, with the seasonal cycles, we know that spring is coming. We know that summer is coming. We're gonna have barbecues, we're gonna get outside, we're gonna be in the garden. Give yourself the time now to rest. Our kittens run around and destroy the house overnight, so they rest during the day. So they have the cycles too. We have to take all of everything that nature shows us and take that in. So it's sort of like refueling a vehicle. You can't run your vehicle without gas. So take this time to refuel yourself. And doing it this way gives us constructive rest. It builds up our reserves, and it sort of makes sense. What we're trying to avoid is collapse. A lot of times people get to winter and that's it. They fall apart. You don't see them until the spring. They're beat. They've run themselves into the ground after summer and fall, and they have no choice but to collapse in the winter. So see if you can avoid that a little bit by giving yourself what you need ahead of time. Personal wintering. So it is winter, and this is a good time for us to take advantage of a little bit of personal hibernation. But sometimes we need to winter even when it doesn't look like this outside. So this is what Catherine May has to say about that. Wintering is a season in the cold. It's a fallow period in life when you're cut off from the world, feeling rejected, sidelined, blocked from progress, or cast into the role of an outsider. Perhaps it results from an illness or a life event such as a bereavement or the birth of a child. Perhaps it comes from a humiliation or failure. Perhaps you're in a period of transition and have temporarily fallen between two worlds. Some winterings creep upon us more slowly, accompanying the protracted death of a relationship, the gradual ratcheting up of carrying responsibilities as our parents age, the drip, drip, drip of lost confidence. Some are appallingly sudden, like discovering one day that your skills are considered obsolete, the company you worked for has gone bankrupt, or your partner is in love with someone new. However it arrives, wintering is usually involuntary, lonely, and deeply painful. So we can have personal wintering time too. I think maybe one of the reasons why this book resonates with me so much is I went through this caring for family members when they needed my help. And you cannot be a part of the world around you, the everyday world, and deeply caring for someone with dementia or recovering from a burn injury at the same time. You need to focus and do what you need to do at that moment. So you take the time of personal wintering, and that's okay too. And I love the permission that Catherine May gives us to do that. It's about self-preservation, right? You know that the cycles are going to shift. In this cycle, in this time, you may need to care for somebody else and for yourself in this way. And you have permission to do that. And you can re-enter the world when it works best for you. So aren't the days getting longer? Yeah, they are. I know here, especially, it's very hard to recognize that. I find February, early March to me are the toughest months to get through. For some reason, those are the months that I think my houseplants that I'm overwintering have made it through the winter, and then February, March, that's it. It's like, can't you just give me a couple more weeks and we're gonna be okay? This gets really hard when we're at the end of seasonal winter. Japan actually recognizes a new mini season every 2 weeks. So something's always happening every 2 weeks. And in fact, Lunar New Year is Wednesday, and Lunar New Year is the start of spring celebration. It's depending on the culture, it could be 2 weeks, could be a 1 month celebration that spring is coming. So it's helpful to have those little reminders that we are on our way out of this. And that's the cycle, right? That's part of what we get to look forward to. There is a Lunar New Year celebration. It's cut off at the top there. There's a Lunar New Year celebration at the Great Hall in Springfield on Wednesday from 10 a.m. to noon. It's free. We're not going to be able to do fireworks and big lion dance or anything like that, but it's a very joyful celebration that spring is coming. It's a time, I guess, somewhat like New Year for us here in our culture, where we wish happiness for the year ahead, and it's a lot about prosperity and wealth and health and looking forward to the year ahead. So if you're interested in having something positive and hopeful and joyful to look forward to, I invite you to come down and join us. We're going to be doing some Tai Chi and have some refreshments and do some fun activities that will hopefully bring happiness and health and wealth into your homes as well. All right. I can't even remember what song we have next. I had that we were going to do Dark of Winter, but did we change that? No. Okay. Number 55, how are you going to play it through? Yeah.
Darkness soothed my weary eyes, and I
Thanks for playing along today. Hopefully you can take something with you to think about the season ahead. And I wanted to leave you with something hopeful. Again, I find that this time of year can be really hard. So knowing what's ahead can be helpful. Spring cleaning is an instinctive response to the end of winter. The Gaelic festival of Imbolc is held on the first day of February and is associated with dusting away the cobwebs that have grown in the corners during the darkest months. In contemporary Ireland, it's still often marked as St. Bridget's Day, a Christianization of the feast of that ancient goddess Rita, who is now stirring. Rita is all promise and life, bursting with readiness to bring about change. She is well rested after her winter retreat. Like Rita, we must emerge slowly from our wintering. We must test the air and be ready to shrink back into safety when blasted by unseasonal winds. We must gradually unfurl our new leaves. There will still be the debris of a long, disordered season. There are moments when we have to find the most grace, when we come to atone for the worst ravages of our conduct in darker times, when we have to tell truths that we'd rather ignore. Sometimes we'll have to name our personal winters, and the words will feel barbed in our throats. Grief, rejection, depression, illness, shame, failure, despair. It often seems easier to stay in winter, burrow down into our hibernation nests away from the glare of the sun. But we are brave, and the new world awaits us, gleaming and green, alive with the beat of wings. And besides, we have a kind of gospel to tell now, and a duty to share it. We who have wintered have learned some things. We sing it out like birds. We let our voices fill the air.